Charlotte Hitchmood, Director at Action for the River Kennet, and I'm here on this wintry day by the Kennet. We are the Rivers Trust for the Kennet and Pang catchments. We're a charity and we spend our life doing projects to improve the river. That means anything from really small scale stream restoration to huge projects where we put the river back where it used to be hundreds of years ago. Everything we do relies on the community of people who live by and use the river, and one of our key strengths is the number of community volunteers we've got. So we train members of the public to be able to undertake citizen science. Some of that is water quality testing, but also we have an amazing team of riverfly monitors. So once a month, over 50 sites throughout the Kennet and Pang are tested for their riverfly scores. That gives us a really good idea of where the river's doing well and where the river's not doing quite so well. We've got teams of people who look at where water vole are thriving, and we've got another team of people who are looking at where wild brown trout are making their nests. So our red spotting team are out in force at this time of year, looking to see how healthy the population of brown trout is. We've got lots of projects, large and small. More and more our projects are getting really ambitious and working to do one big fix for the river. So we've been looking at ways we can put the river channel back to where it used to be before people started messing about with it. Chalk streams in particular are really low energy systems, so over time they've been moved to supply the water meadow system or to supply old mills, and those things aren't used anymore. So we've been looking to find the lowest point in the valley and using things like LiDAR data and historic maps to really look back at where the river used to be, and we've been putting those wiggles back in, putting the river back into the lowest point in the valley, and by doing that we get a really naturally functioning river that can flood out into its floodplain, and we get amazing wildlife benefits. So within months of projects being completed, we found them full of lapwing. Already the vegetation along the riverbank is changing. We've unearthed historic seed beds, so the vegetation is moving back towards what it would have been, and we're creating rivers that are much more resilient. These are big scale projects and they are really ambitious, but hopefully they're a do it once and not have to do it again project, because we're creating rivers that really can look after themselves. Wherever we work, we're working with people who own or manage stretches of river and areas of land. And we've had the most amazing cooperation and support from landowners who have allowed us to build huge wetlands which will slow the flow of water right at the top of the valley, capture all the nutrients and sediments, so that by the time the water reaches the river, it's much cleaner, it's not carrying as much sediment, and that way we can slow the flow of water, which helps to reduce flooding, but it also improves water quality and makes the whole water cycle more robust, because by slowing the flow of water, we're allowing water to percolate through to the aquifer and creating a much more sustainable river. ARC started as a campaigning organisation around 30 years ago. It was a group of the community who cared passionately about their river and were really devastated to see its decline. We've been campaigning to reduce abstraction really successfully. So the River Kennet has had abstraction reduced significantly, enough to make a difference to how the river flows through a typical year. But the river faces more pressures every year, and the one we're really alive to at the moment is the issue around water quality, the pressure put on rivers, particularly chalk streams, by sewage spills. So the Kennet is a groundwater fed catchment, which means we have huge amounts of water ingress into the sewer network, which means that the volume of sewage reaching the sewage treatment works just can't be treated, and so it's being discharged untreated into rivers like this. So we put a huge amount of effort into drawing attention to the problem, campaigning to get Thames Water, in our case, to change their practices, and then to look at solutions, both short-term and long-term solutions, to how we can protect our rivers from this form of pollution. But there are also many other forms of pollution. The one we're really alive to at the moment is the pressure from road runoff, and that's a really horrible, toxic concoction that flows off the road surface and into the rivers. For example, the M4, one of Britain's busiest motorways, the runoff from that when it rains flows directly into the tiny Lambourne stream, which is a SSI and an SAC, and that sort of practice can't continue. At the moment, it's nobody's job to deal with that. It's not regulated or monitored. So we've been putting a lot of effort into drawing attention to the problem and suggesting solutions. It's very much early days, but we're making some really good headway, and we've got some projects in the pipeline that we hope will start to reduce some of these real pressures on tiny watercourses.
One of the things we think is really important is that people can get out to enjoy their local river. And so we have got Stonebridge Wild River Reserve, which is where we are today, just outside Marlborough, which is a space that anyone can come to enjoy being by a chalk stream and in the water meadow adjacent. It's an open space and everyone's welcome. But alongside that, we work with the schools in the Kennet and Pang valleys, and those school children, we take them on a journey to their local river so that they can get to experience the river that's nearest to where they live. And through that programme, we teach them about the wildlife that lives in the river, the life cycles of the wildlife that live in the river, the pressures on the river, and how the children themselves can live their lives in a way that will allow those rivers to thrive in future.
Let's go, Oliver. Wait, look at him. Oh my goodness, it's so cool. Wait, let's see if we could...
The three biggest projects we've worked on in the last year or so have been a big river rewiggling project on the River Shalbourne, where we've put the river back into its old channel, its paleo channel, for over a kilometre, and it's made an incredible difference to how that river is behaving and performing, and we're really looking forward to measuring the rate at which wildlife returns. Another big project on a similar theme was the rewiggling project on the River Og, which has put the river back into the middle of a field, and we can see from historic maps that's where it used to be, and it can now spill out onto the floodplain when water levels are high, and it's created an amazing diverse habitat. And these are in tributaries of the Kennet, so that the improvements we make on those tributaries directly benefit the main stem of the river downstream. And the very biggest project we're working on at the moment, which is probably our most ambitious project, is on the fishery at the Wilderness. It's a 2-year project, and it's a combination of putting the river back to its paleo channel and then digging out wetland scrapes to make a wetter habitat in the whole of the bottom of the valley there. Everything we do in partnership, and we need the support of the whole community, whether that's the farmers, the landowners, the riparian owners, the river keepers, organisations like Sportfish, or our members. We're a membership organisation. We'd love you to join us. You can find out more about how to join on our website.